Buying a home? Don't panic. Just listen to the rest of this podcast. Welcome to Home Inspection Authority's Straight Talk Podcast with me, John Laforme. Are you a home buyer, a realtor, or maybe a home inspector? If you are, then this podcast is definitely for you. So let's get right into some straight talk about home inspections. All right, welcome back everybody to episode 3. It's time for some straight talk about termites with David Olivas from Pyramid Pest Control. I've got some hard questions for him to help explain the difference between home inspector reports and termite reports. This is a fine line that should not be crossed by home inspectors or termite inspectors, and it causes a bit of confusion with the buyers and the realtors and anybody else involved. So I want to try to clear that up today, and let's get right into it. As a general home inspector, as I am, I'm not allowed to even talk about termites with customers, realtors, anybody. What I report is, hey, I saw some wood damage. And the biggest question I get is it dry rot or is it termite? Well, that's why I always refer you to the termite inspector. So for me, it's hard to explain the difference between all that. So what I did was I brought in a termite inspector today. So let me introduce David. Say hi, Dave.
Hey, what's going on out there?
So anyway, so tell us a little about yourself and your experience.
Well, I've been doing inspections for a few years now.
How many years is that?
It's only 40.
40 years.
40 years of inspections, but anyways, it's been fun. It's been difficult a lot of times. As I get older,
as we get older,
it gets a lot harder.
Yeah, don't let the gray hair fool you.
Yeah, or no hair.
Yeah. My first question for you is, have you ever been assaulted or attacked by a termite?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, so that's one worry you can cross off your list there, home buyers. Termites are what, this big?
They're even smaller than that, actually.
Okay.
They're pretty small, and they don't chew, they don't bite, they don't even have teeth.
Right. Okay. So they just like to eat wood.
Yes.
Okay. Explain that a little more.
Well, actually, the termites, when they eat the wood, they actually will kind of put a material on it from their body to break down the wood, and then they will ingest it.
Oh, I see.
So it's not a matter of chewing, it's a matter of, it's almost like you call spitting on the wood to soften it up, and then from there they'll eat it, and then when it actually comes out, when they're done eating it, digesting it, you'll see little tiny pellets, little pellets, and those pellets are absolutely pure wood. And they're very hard. You can't break them down.
Right. So
that's the difference with people when they say, "Is this termite?" Well, if you can break it down, it's not termites. Because termite droppings don't. They're solid wood.
I see.
So termites don't eat anything. People think the termites are very dirty. They're not. They're extremely clean because they don't eat anything but wood.
So what you're describing is what we typically see as termite droppings.
Yeah.
So when someone says there's droppings, it looks like there's droppings by the windowsill or the wood sill. If you grab it and it's solid and it rolls around, that means it's termite droppings.
Termite droppings, but when you say droppings, it doesn't mean that it's termite debris. Okay. It's actually droppings, wood debris.
So it's not termite poop.
Right.
It's termite wood droppings.
Exactly. It's not dirty. Okay, that's what I have to tell people.
All right. Yeah, I see that a lot during my home inspections on windowsills.
Well, they're pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, you see them on the floor by baseboards.
Yeah.
You can see them in a lot of different areas.
In the attic, sub area, wherever.
Yeah. Going through attics, when I'm looking down, I'll see it all over the insulation if there is any.
Yeah.
Or I'll just see it, And I always look up. Here's the funny part. I'll always see it, like sometimes I see big piles of it, but I'll look up and I cannot tell where it came from.
Sometimes it's not visible.
It's not visible where it comes from. So there's rafters right above the area.
Yeah.
And I'm looking, here's the rafter, and I'm looking like, okay, that's pretty much in line with that rafter. Why ain't I seeing any kind of hole up there?
Right.
And I'm like, it's always a head scratcher for me. So why is that?
Well, because sometimes they're actually in between the rafter and the joist on top.
I see.
So they're coming out and dropping down. You don't see anything.
Ah, got it. Okay.
And sometimes you have to go up there and tap on the wood, and that's where you see the damage that was not visible, and that's where it's coming from.
What's the difference between dry rot and termite? That's something we need to explain.
Okay, first of all, dry rot has to do with moisture. So moisture penetrates into the wood, causes the wood to break down, and causes, fungus and or dry rot. And that can happen anywhere. Really, there's moisture like in the roof, window trim, anywhere, like in subflooring, attic, wherever water goes, and that's one of the things we check for. And the difference between the termite damage and or fungus damage is the actual termite itself that's in the wood that you wouldn't see it until you break it open.
Okay, so what I typically see as far as dry rot would be, I see it a lot on fascia boards.
Yes.
Soffit areas, right where the roof plank connects to the fascia board.
Yeah, at the very bottom where all the water goes is where it's usually the worst.
That's one big area I see it. Old buildings with old window frames, wood window frames, of course. A lot of times you'll see people replace the old window, but they'll keep the old window frame, and they'll just put a replacement window in. And you got this nice vinyl window, which is great, double pane glass and everything, but they didn't replace the wood framing all the way around it. And I can put my screwdriver through it, and it's just all rotted away.
Well, yeah, that has a lot to do with the installation. Whoever does it is sometimes not aware of what's there.
So if you're doing replacement windows, understand that you want everything old removed. Just make sure you tell your window guy that.
Right.
Yeah, don't just take a shortcut and just use, that wood looks fine. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's been there for a long time.
And also very important, if you ever have any work done on your roof, try to make sure that you tell the roofing guy to look at the wood under the actual roof.
Yeah.
Because I have seen many, many roofs get done and they didn't replace the damage that was underneath.
That is a lazy roofer right there. Yeah, what you just described is a lazy roofer.
Well, I don't want to say lazy. I just want to say
I'm saying lazy.
They didn't look at it properly. That's all.
Look, when you're replacing a roof, you rip the entire roof off. If you don't notice damaged wood, then you're just ignoring it. You're not even looking for it. So any reputable roofing company is going to repair that stuff.
That is true.
So if you get the lowest bidder doing your roof, you may wind up in a situation that Dave just explained.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I've seen that more times than not. So
yeah,
be careful.
That's just poor quality work right there. That's all it is. Let's break down the termite difference a little more. Are you able to do that?
Yeah. Termites, again, it's not really an issue in all areas. It kind of goes hand in hand with where there's moisture, dry rot, there could be termites. If there's moisture in the wood, they can eat faster and they're attracted to it. So that's why if you have a leak, you want to try and make sure you fix it before that happens.
Okay, so going back to what you mentioned earlier about how the termite breaks down the wood.
Yeah.
So if the wood's wet, it's softer, which means they can break it down easier.
Break it down a lot faster, eat it faster.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing I was going to explain as far as termites themselves is that termites you can see termites in the springtime, in the summer. Springtime is subterranean termites, little tiny black termites with wings. They come out, they swarm. Sometimes you see thousands of them coming out. Yeah. Yep. And then in the summertime, September, when it's like 110 degrees, those are the drywood termites. Those are a reddish color, and those you can see also inside the house swarming.
Another question I get asked a lot when I'm on my home inspections is, should the termite guy do a section 1 or section 2? So can you explain that?
Yeah, whenever you're doing an inspection, a termite inspection, normally you do include section 1 and section 2, and there is a section 3, but I'll explain that in a minute. And what it is that section 1 has to do with any like termite or fungus damage and or evidence of. That's a section 1 item. Okay, so that goes on the list first, is the most important as far as that goes. And then the Section 2 items are listings of possible debris or wood under the house which hasn't caused a problem, but it needs to be noted on the report. And or let's say if there's a leak somewhere that hasn't caused a problem, it's a pipe that's dripping, it's causing moisture, these things can attract termites, so it has to be listed as a Section 2 item.
I hope you're getting all this, because what we're trying to do is break this down in the simplest of layman's terms as to what a home inspector looks for and what a termite inspector looks for. And that would be a Section 2 for Dave, and that would just be a typical home inspection observation from me. So tell me about Section 3 that you mentioned.
Okay, Section 3 is an area where you find something that doesn't relate to 1 or 2, and it could be where you see rodent droppings, which means there could be a rodent problem.
A current rodent problem.
Yeah, current or prior.
Okay.
But you need to bring that to the attention of the owner or somebody, whoever is calling for the report, because that's something they need to know. Right. And that's where it's listed, because it's not really something that termite deals with, but it's something that should be noted.
Right. So as a home inspector looking under a house, for example, if I see rodent droppings, I definitely let my client know that.
Right.
And I also let them know if I see evidence of rodent damage.
Exactly.
For example, eating a hole through HVAC ducting.
Yes.
I see that a lot, and that tells me, you know what, that duct may be contaminated. So do you point that out as well if you saw damaged ducting, or are you only looking for the droppings?
I normally only look for the droppings because I can only recommend something to be done with the rodents themselves, as opposed to damage to the HVAC system or screens or anything on the house. That's a separate person that would be dealing with that.
Okay.
And so
right.
you make those notations too, because
Right.
you have to tell them somebody's got to deal with that also.
Yes. So to be clear, on the home inspection side of it, if I see droppings on the ground, whether it could be from, I don't know if it's from mice or rats, or
Could be possums.
could be possums, could be raccoons.
Right. Could be skunks. Anything. Yeah.
I've seen all kinds of stuff under houses, as you've seen in my other videos. So just to be clear, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for evidence of pest damage, which could be HVAC ducting gets damaged, chewing on insulation wrapped around pipes under the house,
Wires.
wires, chewing on wires. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that I'm looking for. So at that point, I recommend, you need an electrician out here to fix this chewed up wiring, or you need an HVAC contractor to repair and further evaluate all this ducting that looks like it might be contaminated. Because if a rodent gets in your duct, you got to replace it, because they just pee and poop everywhere, and that just contaminates everything. And every time you turn it on, you're breathing it. To be clearer, as you're doing your Section 1 and 2, you may come across the Section 3 because you just happen to see.
That is true. It's
So
not.
you're not really,
Yeah.
you're not focused on the Section 3, but if you see it, you report it.
Yes, exactly. It's not
Okay.
something that you're actually looking for, but you run across.
People
it.
ain't going to call you and say, oh, by the way, I only need a Section 3 today.
Right. No, when you do a report, normally the report always includes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
So it's not really up to the person ordering the report. It's up to the person doing the inspection. You try to give them as much information as you can.
How do you simplify your findings to your clients?
What I try to explain to the client is that what I find, and try to show them what it is, because it's when you see it on the report, it sometimes looks much worse than it is. But if I show them, try to show them what it is, sometimes the dry rot, the termites are only in certain areas. Doesn't mean the whole house is infested.
Right.
Doesn't mean the house is going to fall down. It just means that you need to proceed with this part first, then this part.
All right. Let me point out one thing Dave just said. It doesn't mean the house is going to fall down. Okay, so new home buyers, sometimes, seasoned buyers are very panicked about that. I myself very rarely see a house that is not stable. And what is the odds of a house being made of wood and not having termites?
Probably 1%.
Trying to make you guys understand that this is normal to have. You just need to address it.
Right.
And that's what Dave is there for when he does your termite inspection, is he's letting you know you have a couple specific areas that may need local treatments, or there may be a lot of issues that may need,
additional work to be done.
like
a lot of repairs, fumigation, tenting, that kind of thing. It can get pretty bad, but at least if you know what's there, you can see how you're going to take care of it and when.
Right. Now, the reason why some homes may be way worse than others is because the homeowners that were there prior may never have taken the time to have a termite inspection done.
That is true.
So that can be a big shocker when clients are buying like 100-year-old house. It's like, oh my God, I have termites? Oh yeah, the house has been here like 100-something years. It's going to have a few termites.
Right.
So that's the reality of, buying a home, especially a much older home, much older wood structure.
Right.
Where is the most problematic problem inside a house be?
Well, it's not inside, it's going to be under the house.
Right.
Sub area where nobody ever goes except us.
Right.
And that's where we see everything that's kind of been done and not done to the house.
Right, or ignored.
Yeah.
Totally ignored. So, we can't get into every crawl space because there are limitations. Some are just too low, some are just closed off. The house might have been remodeled. They might have sealed off the entrance from inside the house and like a closet floor, or they may have sealed off the outside. It happens all the time. So is it true? Here's the old standard that I hear. If the house is over 3 years old, it needs a termite. Is that about right?
Well, the house should be inspected every 3 years, just to make sure there hasn't been any problems that have, could have caused something. So that's the thing. Every couple of years, have it inspected, and that way you will find the problem. I mean, eventually. It doesn't mean you're not going to have anything. It means having it checked, you should be able to take care of it before it gets bad. Yeah.
So I'm glad we just solved that myth, because it was explained to me wrong years ago. I had termite guys tell me, if the house is over 3 years old, it should be inspected for termites. Well, he just explained it in a whole different way. What he's saying is every 3 years, you should get your house looked at for termites.
Yeah.
There you go. What I want to show you now is a video of what I caught under a house. All right, so here's a video of what I found.
Wow.
On a crawl space with my crawl bot.
Yeah.
So as you can see, they're over here too. We get those are called subterranean termites, right?
Those are tubes. Those are the migration tubes that they use to travel, because they have to be inside of a controlled environment to survive, and that's what the tubes are for.
I see.
So that they can actually enter and exit on a daily basis to eat the wood and then take it down to the nest.
The nest is underground.
But the nest is going to be maybe 30 or 40 feet underground.
Whoa.
Not 2 feet underground.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why it's really unusual to see that kind of problem.
They don't have an elevator for that?
Well, yeah.
This looks like an elevator.
Yeah, inside there it is an elevator.
It's not a very straight one.
They're just climbing on each other to get up there.
But yeah, that to me, sometimes, I'll have a little fun and I'll run right to them with my crawl bot.
No, that's fine.
I think I'm helping everybody out.
Yeah,
right?
you are.
How long does it take, do you think? How many days, weeks, or years for that to get to there? That's about 18 inches.
Yeah, that could happen actually in a matter of days.
Wow.
Because if they find a source that they really want to get to, just remember there's millions of termites in the nest.
Wow.
So if they want to, they'll just bring a few million and build that in a couple days to get up there.
Wow, that's got to be at least 18 to 24 inches right there.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good sized crawl space. So
yeah, and just think if there was some moisture in that area, they could have eaten that entire floor out.
Yeah, and there was a whole bunch of them, by the way.
Yeah,
there was at least probably 6 or 7 in that area.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right from the dirt all the way up to the wood. So here's I wanted to see what your opinion was on this here.
Wow, that is drywood termite damage, and that could be 10 to 15 years of eating because it takes them a long time to eat. The drywood termites, because they have to infest it before they can eat it. The subterranean can come up, like I said, bring 1 million guys up in one day.
Right.
But that's been years and years, and it looks like they forgot to repair a portion of that.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And then they got the new wood nailed right to that damaged piece right there.
Right. So, yeah, that's.
I used to frame houses, so.
So you know that's not.
Wrong.
Yeah, way off.
Yeah, they definitely did some work, but they got a lot more work to do under this house here. This, by the way, this house was 1920s. Yeah,
Oh, well, that's not bad then.
1921 or so.
Yeah.
And here's another one. This framing here
Wow.
is from a 1906.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
As you can see, that's pretty well rotted away.
It is rotted away, but
Yeah.
most
the support is missing. So there was something else here.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it going, okay, so this is sagging. So I go inside the house and I can see it sagging. So all that damage was just ignored
Yeah.
all these years.
Yeah, but normally when we see whatever damage we see, normally it can be repaired.
Yes, it's just wood.
Yeah.
That's a good topic. I want to point
I
that
know,
out to the viewers. So most of Dave's work that he has to repair is just 2x4s, 2x8s,
yeah.
2x6s, maybe some 4x4 floor supports, stuff like that. This is just stuff you can go get at Lowe's or Home Depot.
Right.
This is just a matter of literally just cutting out and removing damaged wood and just replacing it. All right, Dave, so you've just put some really nasty pieces of wood on my desk. What's going on with this wood?
Okay. The one in the center here, this is dry rot or fungus damage from moisture penetrating the wood. And what you see, the wood is starting to kind of shrink because when it gets fungus damaged, it starts to remove the structure part of the wood, so it gets kind of soft and it'll start falling apart.
Kind of caves in, right?
Yeah, it caves in, but it's kind of still in one piece. It's not like cavities. It just gets very soft and starts caving in. And that's the difference between termite damage, where termites will actually eat the wood and hollow it out. So they'll just be like paint on the top, and it will just be completely gone inside.
Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you can see what they're doing here. Like
Yeah.
They left this little piece.
Well, it's a nut. Because where it's really hard, they won't eat it.
So they're lazy termites.
Well, they're very careful.
Okay. And this big behemoth right here, what's going on? Same thing here, right?
Yeah, this is actually from a fence. And what happens at the very bottom where it's touching the ground termites will start eating it up from the bottom.
Yep.
And then right here it was painted, so it's been a while that they were here. And then on the other side here up is the dry termites, the kind that leave the little droppings, because if you were to open this up here, you're going to see all the droppings coming out.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you can see them there.
Yeah, and that's what this
Right
is.
there, all these droppings.
And the same thing with this is that the wood actually...
Look at that. Wow.
Yeah, the
Oh,
wood
boy.
actually looks fine, but you see what's left of it is nothing. It's just
Wow.
the paint itself.
It's for looks only.
Yeah, because they know that they can eat up to the paint and they won't get noticed. That's usually what it is, because they need to be, like I said, in a
Yep, watch
controlled,
this. Look at that.
controlled environment. Oh yeah, this.
Look at all that.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
So
I was hoping one would fall out.
not from here.
A dead one.
Yeah, the dead one, yes, but not
A dead termite.
nothing there.
Wow, very interesting. So these are, like you mentioned before, these are hard.
These are hard. These are the actual droppings, but there's
They're
like I said,
solid.
pure wood. There's nothing else in it.
That's pure wood.
Yeah, and it will not break down.
It will not.
Solid.
Wow.
So
That is really, really interesting.
that's where they get the moisture out of the wood for themselves, is when they squeeze it out,
Right.
and this is what's left.
So right here, you really take a good look at that. You can see all the jagged edges, so like they're just making little tunnels everywhere.
Yeah.
Look at that.
But this is my favorite part, is just the paint.
Yeah.
That's all that's left on here.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's just...
Yeah,
but again, this is normal for a fence. And for wood that's been eaten and it's outside, it'll get like this.
So they can sense where the paint starts.
Exactly. Okay. Anyways, the reason I brought this piece of wood is because this is a piece of cedar that you can buy at Home Depot. And it's, good lumber and everything like that, but some people think that's because it's cedar or redwood, it's not going to get termites, which is not true. If you put this kind of wood in the right place, it will get termites because termites don't care.
Right.
So in other words, just make sure that you have that in your mind as far as buying lumber that's very expensive like cedar. You still have to seal it. You still have to keep it off the ground. You still have to make sure that you install it properly.
To make it simple, wood and moisture don't mix. The ground has moisture. Grass has moisture. Dirt has moisture.
And dirt has termites. So
true.
It's either way, it's going to get to it. So.
And if your sprinklers are spraying all over your wood and it's touching the ground, you're making matters even worse.
Right.
Okay, so Dave, what do we got here? We got a can here, we got a can here, we got a mask there. What's this all about?
Okay, first of all, this is treatment if you wanted to treat it yourself.
So this is do-it-yourself stuff.
This is do-it-yourself over the counter, but I want to make sure you understand that it requires the same type of safety as the stuff we use, because it's used for the same thing, treating for termites in a spot treatment. You always want to wear a mask. You always want to wear gloves, hopefully some rubber gloves.
Okay.
Because even though this is over the counter, it's very strong, and it smells, and it works very good. But you want to make sure you got a mask and gloves, because that's the same thing.
What about having kids around and stuff like that?
You really should have nobody around while you're using this, other than yourself or whoever's using it.
Okay.
For a time, maybe a couple of hours in that area, just to make sure.
Okay.
Because that's what we do. When we do treatment, this is what we use. This requires a licensed individual to purchase and to use it.
Such as yourself.
Such as myself. And we use the mask and the gloves all the time. And then we require everybody to be out of the room also for at least 2 hours. It's very safe as long as you do it that way.
Yeah, you follow procedure.
Yeah, follow procedure and you'll be fine.
Okay. So give me an example of a local treatment where, like, a windowsill?
Yeah, like if it's a windowsill, I mean, obviously not this much damage, but if there's termites in a windowsill and you see some evidence coming out of the windowsill, you would drill a small hole in that area where you see the problem, and then you would insert the tip of that into the hole, spray it, and be very careful again with the mask and the gloves, and make sure that, because it's under pressure.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it doesn't come back in your face. So make sure you're you're thinking about that, because it's supposed to spread inside where the termites are. Yeah. Well, what it is, when the termites get into the wall, if they've only just started and they're just pushing out a little bit of debris, sometimes the infestation is very large and you can spray it and get rid of it. It depends if you have several holes in the wall. You treat it. You don't always know if it's gone, but at least you can check it and treat it and go from there.
Okay, got it. Okay. So just so you know, you can do some of this stuff yourself. You don't have to hire Dave. But
just be careful.
Yeah.
And use the mask, the gloves, everything.
Now, is this an N95, right? Yeah.
Yes.
This is an N95. So that's the size mask you recommend?
That is the mask. Yeah, it's required.
Okay, so that's an N95. So definitely make sure you don't just put on some cheap little mask. Make sure you have a good one.
Make sure it is a good one.
Yeah, so, and nowadays we live in a mask world, so you should have no problem finding an N95 mask anywhere at this point. Okay, great. When it comes to the discussion about tenting a house, how does that come about?
Normally it comes about when you see this kind of damage, drywood termite damage, and you see how much damage is on the house, assess the amount, and see if it can actually be treated locally in those areas. And then sometimes you even treat it locally, and then you see the progress with the termites, and maybe a year later you find termites in another area. Then you bring it to the attention of the owner, and sometimes they want to fumigate to make sure all the termites are gone. So it's not necessary to panic and assume you have to do it right away. It takes time. You can see what's going on, then you can determine when you want to do it and if it needs to be done. Yeah, the type of termite you're killing when you fumigate is a drywood termite. That's the one that has the little droppings that they leave behind. So that's why you do it, because those can live anywhere in the house. Doesn't matter. Subterranean or the ground termites, those usually will come up from the bottom like under the house or around the edges. So that's why you treat the actual soil or foundation, not a tent. So 2 different treatments, 2 different kinds of termites.
How long does the process take?
Well, it's a 3-day process. It goes up one day, comes off the 3rd day. Like Monday, 10 to 12 it goes up, and then Wednesday, 10 to 12 it comes down. And what happens is all the food in the house has to be sealed in the bags that we give you, we supply to you, the termite company.
Oh, okay.
They're designed for that only. Everything in the house normally is fine with regards to pictures, paintings, computers,
right.
Clothing, everything is fine because the gas doesn't leave any residual.
Right.
And that's the thing a lot of people are not aware of and are terrified of.
Right.
But it's pretty safe with regards to that, believe it or not.
Okay.
And but the worst thing of it is, other than the cost of the job, is being out of the house 3 days, 2 nights.
And time it properly. You can have that done before you leave your current house to move into that one, and it's all done.
Right.
No displacement at all.
Right.
On that one. So another question I have regarding the tenting is, what else does that fumigation kill in the house?
It's designed to kill termites, but it will kill pretty much anything in the house, like roaches, ants, fleas, whatever.
What about rats and mice?
Well, it'll kill rats and mice, and the way you're going to know that is because when you come back to the house, if there's any dead rats, it's going to smell.
I think that wraps it up for Dave here, helping us out with explaining the termite process and all that good stuff. And the difference, I hope I was able to establish the difference between a home inspector and a termite inspector. That was the point of doing this video. So where my job ends, his job starts, so to speak.
Right.
And it's not to be combined in any way. And that's something we have to struggle with customers every day, is explaining that. Well, why can't you tell me what it is? Because I'm not qualified to tell you what it is.
Right.
According to California state law, I'm not allowed to tell you his job. So a lot of times what happens at the end of the inspections, let's say another termite guy's there, even you sometimes, I've actually asked you not to say stuff before.
Right, that's true.
Because I'm in the other room finishing my home inspection while he's in the living room giving his overview of his termite because he's done. And then I'll hear him say, oh yeah, John found some wood stuff too. He'll tell you all about it. And I'm like, no, Dave, I won't. So I've corrected him a couple times only because I don't want to be thrown under the bus like that.
Right.
And then he shouldn't have told you that. So, but that's the fine line that we have to.
No, that's what I mean.
Deal
Yeah,
with,
it happens. So
it does happen. It's all about, some things get lost in translation.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, the inspections take a long time. I mean, by the time we're both at the end of the inspections,
yeah,
the homeowner or the buyer is not listening to us completely, and they're only hearing certain words like termite or water damage, and they freak out. So don't freak out. It can all be fixed.
Right.
Just buy the house if you really want the house, and just deal with the repairs. Thanks, Dave.
Just get all the info.
Okay, so the takeaway here is don't panic over termites. It's very normal for any home to have some type of a termite issue. Some are minor, some are major. It's just a matter of knowing where those areas are, addressing those areas, and then that's it. It's just part of owning a house. So I want to thank again David for giving us all that information. You can reach David Olivas at Pyramid Pest Control at 818-298-8939. You can call or text him if you're in the Los Angeles area and need a termite inspection. You can also email him at pyramidpest@aol.com. So I want to also put it out there that if you're looking for a home inspection, or a sewer camera inspection, or a swimming pool inspection, indoor air quality testing, or a mold inspection and testing, you can give me a call at 800-950-8184, or you can email me directly at john@homeinspectionauthority.com. And if you have a chance to check out the YouTube channel, that's Home Inspection Authority on YouTube. Got a lot of great videos on there. And also you can find me on Instagram at Authority Inspector and TikTok at Authority Inspector. So thanks again for listening, and we'll keep on bringing you some new episodes. Take care.